But we're in Houston, Texas, because we are Texas residents, which is why we are at the Greek Consulate in Texas. So we're getting ready to go inside. There's the door. We have an appointment. We'll let you know how it goes. I think getting a Greek visa might be one of the best decisions we've made in our full-time traveling life.
Yeah, and let's be clear, we're getting a 1-year visa for the country of Greece, so we can go in and out of Greece for an entire year as much as we want. And we've been traveling for over 4 years now, so traveling the world is not a problem for us, and in very rare cases have we had to get visas before. But if you know about the Schengen rules, you can only spend up to 90 days in any of the Schengen countries and all the Schengen countries before you have to leave.
Right.
So for full-time travelers, this is a big deal for us.
Yeah. So who are we? First of all, I'm Chris, and this is Steve. We're EatWalkLearn. As Steve said, we sold all of our stuff in May of 21. We've been traveling the world ever since, and we're just coming off a vacation. So if you've been following us, we usually put out a video every week, but we've taken about 5 weeks off or so, and we enjoyed some time at our nation's capital, hung out in Washington, D.C. for a few weeks. Now we're in Houston, Texas. We're going to tell you why we're in Houston, Texas, but this is the first of 3, what we think is going to be 3 videos. This video is about how we got our short-term, which is actually a long-term visa, a 1-year visa in Greece. All the things we had to do up to the appointment and the actual appointment. The next video will be what happened after the appointment when we got our visa and we arrived in Greece. And then the last video in the series will be about our long-term plans for a visa in Greece, which involves a whole different process.
Houston is where we need to go to the Greek consulate. If you live in other places in the country, you're going to need to find out where it is that your consulate is, right, that you need to go to, because you have to have a face-to-face appointment in order to get approved for this 1-year visa.
Right. So this process for us started actually back in May when we were in Greece. It was our 3rd or 4th time in Greece. And we started thinking about, gosh, we really like Greece, and having to only be able to come here 90 days at a time and then having to leave for 90 days and having to come back for 90 days, obeying the Schengen rules. For Americans have that, and most other people who don't live in Europe have these rules. And we just thought, let's figure out a better plan for how we can enjoy Greece, because it's one of Steve's favorite countries.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the food, love the people, learning a little bit of the language. And also, there are some very specific reasons, more than just we love Greece, right, that we wanted to get a longer term visa to be able to stay longer.
Right. So we had 3 particular reasons. The first is we're just getting a little concerned about some of the immigration issues that are happening in the U.S. And with a passport full of really great countries we've been to, we just thought it might be a good idea for us to have a place that we could go to and land legally and permanently if we had to in the future. And Greece is one of those places that we thought if we had to stay for a while, it would be okay. And of course, as Steve said, we love Greece. So the second is we see in the future, because we are magical and we have an 8-ball and we can look in the future and predict everything, that there's a chance we'll probably lose some of our insurance coverage in the U.S. Steve's on Medicare, I'm on ACA. In both our situations internationally, both of our plans cover us for catastrophic situations that happen worldwide that would stabilize us and get us back to the U.S. under our insurance. With some possible changes coming up based on some legislation that's passed recently in the U.S., we feel that there's a good chance in January a lot of that coverage might go away. So we wanted to start looking at better insurance options and medical care options that were more permanent and more reliable and more affordable elsewhere in the world. And then the third reason, which we alluded to earlier about the Schengen rules, is this visa gives us, it still makes us responsible for the 90-180 Schengen rules for the Schengen district, but it takes Greece out of that district. So instead of being in Europe for 90 days and having to go to Albania or Ireland or Scotland or whatever, we can go back to Greece. Yes, Greece is still in Schengen, but in relation to the visa, we can stay in Greece as long as we want. So it becomes kind of a neutral zone for us to go in and out of Schengen. So we can go to Spain, come back to Greece, hang out for as long as we want, go to France, come back and hang out as long as we're only 90 days in the Schengen area that is not Greece. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility for being in and out of the Schengen district.
And I think part of that is, we've been traveling for a little bit more than 4 years now, and we've been going pretty fast. So we're going to be slowing down a little bit. And we wanted to find a place that we could stay for 3 months, maybe longer. And we found a great place in Greece. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that as well.
Right.
So that we'll be able to land and just hang out and have a home base in the country of Greece and not have to be moving so quickly.
Right, but that doesn't mean we're getting a place in Greece. We're just like emotionally having a home base of Greece and going in and out of Greece and going to the different beautiful cities in Greece.
Yeah, we're not slowing down that much.
No, right? We are not getting a house or a lease or anything along that line. Okay.
Yeah, so just wanted to point out too, because we haven't said that we're going to share with you all the costs too.
Right.
So you'll know, if you want to do what we did, you'll know exactly or within reason how much it's going to cost.
Right. The first thing you have to do when you want to get your Greek visa is you've got to get an appointment at one of those consulates or embassies. You have to do it in the country where you're from. So for us, that was the US. For us, that was Texas. So in May, we emailed the Greek consulate in Houston, and we said we want an appointment in September.
Right.
And we gave them a range of dates, and they came back and said, okay, your date is September 8th or something at 12 o'clock noon. And we said, great, what do we need to bring? And they provided us a list of things we needed to bring. And then for the next 3 or 4 months, we worked on getting that list together.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure the first tip that I have is plan ahead.
Yeah.
Don't say, okay, next week I want to leave the country and go to Greece for a year and think that you're going to get an appointment within the next week. It might happen. Everybody's situation is different. For us, we planned ahead. We planned 4 months out. We sent an email. It's easy to find the email address at the consulate and requested an appointment, and we got word back fairly quickly with our options.
Yeah, and for those of you who are wanting to leave the U.S. quickly, that you feel like it's time to go and you don't have time to wait for visas, you can, as an American citizen with a U.S. passport, go to Europe without a visa. This is, if you want to stay longer than 90 days, you have to have a visa. Okay, so number one, get your appointment. Number two, you got to fill out a form.
Yeah.
So we downloaded the form. It was really straightforward, just basic. Are you married? What is your address? Where do you live? Where your passport information, and 2 pictures. So we had to get 2 pictures each for our application.
Right. And they were passports type photos. And we did that while we were back here in the United States. So you also need to give them your passport while the visa is being processed. They're going to actually put the visa inside your passport. So please, accommodate for that you're not going to have your passport for, in our cases, it was a short period of time, but potentially, a couple of weeks. We had to give them a UPS envelope, prepaid envelope, so that it could be overnighted to us. So that's another thing that you may need to make sure that you have in advance is the UPS envelope with label ready to go, so they can just stick your passports in there, seal it, and send it off.
What are we doing today?
We are at the Greek Consulate to get our D1 visa so we can spend more time in Greece.
Yay! But we're in Houston, Texas, because we are Texas residents, which is why we are at the Greek Consulate in Texas. So we're getting ready to go inside. There's the door. We have an appointment. We'll let you know how it goes. We're done. We're done. It didn't take long. We had all of our paperwork. He said what?
He said I'm amazing.
He said no problems, and we should have our visa in 1 week.
1 week.
1 week. We'll let you know. Right. So other things that we needed for the actual application, we had to get our fingerprints and an FBI background check. So the process for doing that is you go to the FBI website, you fill out a form, and you give your addresses and your social security numbers and your passport numbers and whatever, typical FBI information. They then run your, and then you have to go to the post office to get fingerprints done. Now you can go to other facilities that do fingerprints. Most post offices do them. Just you can go to their website and look to see if they have the fingerprinting tools. We found one in Arlington, Virginia while we were there. We went in, we did the fingerprints. After we did the fingerprints, the post office matches that up with our FBI background check, and then the FBI sends us a letter saying that we either have a rap sheet or we don't. Fortunately, we did not, and it took less than 2 hours for those results to come back. Once the fingerprints were submitted, it just matched up digitally, and boom, we had a letter saying that we were not non-wrapped sheeted.
Yeah. It was a little bit disappointing. It was like, I've lived 65 years and the FBI has nothing on me. There's nothing to report. I guess that's a good thing.
And hang on to the end because we'll tell you about all the costs for all these individual pieces and parts. Exactly. Now, the last thing we need a couple more things. We had to show some bank accounts. We had to show credit card statements, 3 months for each. And then we also had to have a doctor's note. Now, this was a little bit of a challenge. The doctor's note had to be signed, and it had to say...
Sorry, I would just say that there's a very specific form that they want. It's just not a note from the doctor.
Right. So you get a form. On the form it says, all these things, including you don't have syphilis or tuberculosis. Okay, we don't have those, but we had to prove that. So it was quite a maneuver for us. We, since we don't normally take advantage of the U.S. medical care system, we haven't been in the U.S. for medical care. We didn't have general practitioners identified with relationships. We couldn't just call our GP up, send the letter, and have them sign it. So it took us a lot of effort to get this done. What we ended up doing is after we researched how to do it in the U.S., we were, at the time that we found out we needed this letter, we were still in Greece. So you know what we did? We just went to the Greek doctor on the island that we were in. We showed him the form. He said, no problem. He did everything we needed to do. He signed the form. And very, very affordably, we walked out of the Greek doctor's office with the form that we needed for the application.
Yeah. And just kind of a little bit of a background. So the government of Greece wants to know that if you're going to be coming and you're going to be staying for any period of time, that you're healthy, right? You don't have any communicable diseases that will infect other people, and also that you're not a criminal. And in this particular case, since we're applying for a financially independent person visa, meaning we're retired, we're not going to be working in Greece.
Right.
We had to show proof of sufficient income, 4,200 euro per month.
For the both of us.
Correct.
And we could also show, I believe it was 125,000 euro in savings. So, and that number changes, so just double check that before you actually apply. But those were the numbers that we had to show proof of income in order to be considered a financially independent person. And you said this was the D1 visa I-8 category financial independent person, right?
Yes, I don't think you need the one after the D. They've changed it. So it's a D visa I-8, which identifies you as an independent,
financially independent person. Yeah, NFIP.
Right.
Yeah.
And just know that all these visa terminology and requirements had recently changed. That's why it took a lot of research for us to figure it out, because if you just Google it, you're going to get 5 different opinions from 5 different people.
Yeah, and not a lot of it's not accurate.
Right.
We've learned that the hard way, that it was not accurate. Okay, was that all the paperwork that we needed? We had to show insurance.
We were able to find, after, again, a lot of research, a great company that offered Eurozone insurance for the entire Schengen area.
So it was fantastic. Steve was brilliant. He came up with this Schengen area insurance called Mundial Care, and we'll put a link in the description below. It gives us coverage in the entire Schengen zone, which we thought was great because we're going to be in and out of Greece, all over the Schengen zone. This covers us for a year, and it was $800 for the two of us for the year. This gives us access to the entire medical system in the Schengen zone for $800 a year.
Yeah. So in our example, we were actually able to to not pay for some other insurance, this replaced it. So it was actually a benefit for saving us some money.
So if you have been following us along with us over time, you know that I was on Ginkgo. I dropped Ginkgo because starting October 1st, because I'll pick up this new Schengen Mondial Care insurance for the year, and it will cover me while I'm in the Schengen zone. If I need to come back to the US and I don't have ACA, I'll solve that problem in a different way. And if we leave the Schengen district, I will solve that problem in a different way. But actually, this company does have global care that we did not look into because this next year, we really didn't need it. But as our travel gets broader, and 2 years from now, we might go back to this company and get a global policy.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think was $1,600 for the two of us. Just don't quote me on that, but just use it as an idea as you're going into evaluating your insurance.
Right. Okay, a couple more things that you need. They want to know that you're actually going to Greece and that you're going to be staying there. So you need to show proof of an airline ticket of when it is that you're going to be traveling and you're going to be going to the country of Greece.
And just to clarify that, the ticket that we had was from the U.S. to Portugal, and then we were going to Dublin, and then we were going to Greece after that. He was just interested in our Portugal arrival. So he wanted to know when we were coming into the Schengen district. That was it.
Right. Right. And the other thing is you want to show proof that you do have accommodations for at least 3 months. And in our case, it was actually quite easy because we were going to be in Greece and on the island of Poros this winter. So we already had those accommodations all set. So it was very easy to show the receipt for those accommodations.
Yeah, it's a piece of cake.
And finally, let's get into the cost. There is a cost. And when you arrive for your appointment, that is the first thing that they ask for, and it has to be in cash. So in cash, in US dollars, it does not have to be in euros. For us, it was $432
in cash. So that's for two. So we paid that out.
Yep.
And then let's just run through the expenses for everything else. So starting off with, the application was $432. These are expenses for two people. Our passport photos were $28. Our medical reports, what we paid the doctor in Greece, those were $115 each, or $230. The background check was $36 from the FBI, so $18 a piece, plus $50 a piece, or $100 for the actual fingerprinting and the processing of the fingerprints. The insurance, as we said, was $810. I think I just corrected that number there. $810. And then the UPS prepaid envelope was $47. We did pay for overnight on that. We didn't want to get to the end of our time in the U.S. and be freaking out that there wasn't enough time for the UPS to ship it. You could do a priority mail as well, or ground if you want. We didn't want to risk it, so that's why we spent the $47. And to that point, our visas actually came the next day after we left the embassy. They showed up the next day. So he processed them that day and put them in the mail. So that was fantastic. And then, of course, the $432 of cash for the application fee. A total for two is $1,568 in total to get our D category I-8 FIP visa.
It's a 1 year. It's a 1 year visa.
Yeah, and so this will give us access to Greece as much time as we want, and then we can go in and out of Schengen. It will give us access to the medical care, and it will give us just a beautiful place to hang out in a country that we absolutely adore. If you have any questions, give us a shout down below. Put us in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe. Our next video about this will be getting the visa, arriving in Greece, and going to immigration in Greece to record the visa. We'll let you know how all that goes. And then the third video will be about getting a golden visa and why we're going through that process as well. We'll see you again soon. Ciao.